she also has some action items she's going to speak to. Anne Marie has been researching education for over 15 years and currently volunteers for Cornerstone Action in New Hampshire as their Education Liaison. Testifying before the legislature of New Hampshire, her focus has been on parental rights, academic and excellence, and literacy. Anne Marie, come educate us.
Yeah, I saw I was going to be the last one up, and I thought, oh, don't throw tomatoes at me, please. I promise this won't be too long. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. So you know, we've had some incredible speakers, and I have been researching education for probably over 15 years, and I really did it for selfish purposes. I did it to make sure that my kids got a great education. And through those years, I've been able to connect with people thanks to the internet. People like Dr. Stotsky and James Milgram, who I've been talking to for years over the internet. I can't tell you the first time I met Dr. Stotsky, I was like, yay! I mean, today I met Peg Luxick. Oh my gosh, I told her I'm a groupie. I'm not kidding you, I'm a groupie. I'm telling you right now, go back when you get home, Google search her name, videos. Watch her older videos too. I just can't even begin to tell you how helpful they were to me when I was researching education. Quite frankly, back then I can remember thinking, oh God, I hope she's wrong, I hope she's wrong. And today I'm here to say, unfortunately, she wasn't. She wasn't. And she awakened me to what was going on. I'm just a mom. I mean, I'm a mom who wanted the best for her kids, a lot like what you want. And so I never imagined I would be standing up here talking to you. I'm not an activist at heart, so some of this I kind of do enjoy. But really, I was just going through, getting my kids through school and making sure that I got the best for them. So as I'm researching, I started sharing information with other parents, because I go, well, if I got it, I might as well start sharing it. And I lived in Ohio at the time. We moved to Kentucky for a while. And then we moved to New Hampshire about a decade ago. And one of my friends happened to run Cornerstone at the time, and she's like, would you join the board of Cornerstone? A lot of it has to do with fundraising, and I thought, I love Cornerstone. It's a family policy research group, very, pro-family, and I said, it's just didn't sound like the right fit. She said, well, so she went back, they came back, and I'm like, well, would you do education? Would you testify? Would you, kind of do an outreach on education? And I thought, testify in front of the legislature, do an outreach. The mothership is calling me. Yes, I will do that. And I thought, you know what? That's it. That's what I need to do. I also, while my kids were growing up, math is my specialty. I'm one of those strange girls that liked math. Probably because they actually taught it where you understood it back then. Unfortunately, now I look at it and think, dear God. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of what I did with my kids was based on what math they were teaching in the school. I kept them out of certain schools based on, I look at the textbook and say, fuzzy math? Nope, not going to that school. I live in a great town. Nope, wouldn't put them in that school because they're using fuzzy math. So that has also given me a lot of insight into things. I remember when Common Core came into New Hampshire in 2010, and like I said, prior to that, I knew that this was coming. I mean, anybody who researches education knew a decade ago that this was coming. You were just kind of hoping that it wouldn't happen, against hope. And so 2010, when this happened, I'll be honest with you, back then I was looking for a Peg Luxick. I was like, okay, I've got to get behind a Peg, I've got to start supporting her, and I've got to make sure that we really fight this in New Hampshire. And so I looked around and I thought, oh dear God, there's no Peg. And I looked around and I thought, uh-oh, I'm the only one who knows about this. This is not good. The legislators didn't know about it. Parents didn't know about it. Teachers didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it except me. And I was trying to wave a flag going, help, somebody help me. This is coming into our state. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was doing anything about it. And so I started testifying on bills. I started educating people. I would go anywhere I was invited. If a political group called me up and said, come and speak about Common Core. This was over the last few years. I would go talk to them. I don't care if it was a room full of 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, I would go. And I started getting more and more calls, would you come and talk to us? And sure enough, and started getting people interested. And I think it was Sean Malkin and Glenn Beck who really blew the lid. Once they went public with it, it blew the lid off of this issue, and it became public. And then I think what we saw is the teachers and the teachers unions starting to look at this because it was being implemented in the classrooms. And so, we're getting both sides of the political spectrum involved, and both sides who support it, both sides who are finally saying no. And that's a good thing, because I think some people want to politicize this, and I can tell you that for me personally, I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care. If you are willing to join in this effort, I welcome you. Because this is about quality education. It's not about what you believe politically. I guarantee if we all sat down, we're all going to think differently, and that's okay. As you heard a lot today, they will game the system. They will game the system. And I'm a researcher, and I've seen that. I've seen that over and over again. And I'm from New Hampshire. And I've been trying to tell people that your kids are proficient. I wouldn't count on that. I would have them tested outside the system. Never would rely on what our state has been using as far as proficiency tests go. And I wrote an article years ago on the NECAP versus the NAEP. And because the NECAP would show your kids were proficient, but if you looked at the NAEP, they were actually not proficient many times. And so parents were being misled. What I wanted to talk to you today, and what I was asked to also talk to you today about, is what you can do, okay? Because I'm a mom, and again, you're out there going, what can I do? I'm going to go through a list, and maybe there's some things that you can't do. Maybe you can't come up and publicly speak, because this is a little nerve-wracking. I'll be honest with you. I mean, when I'm asked to do this, I'm always like, sure, I'll do that, and I get there, I'm like, oh, why did I agree to do that? Because it's a little nerve-wracking. But if you can do it, do it. If you can't do it, find something that you can do, something you should be able to do. So I'm just going to go quickly through kind of a list of what you can do. Again, talk to groups, PTAs, Republican or Democrat clubs. I don't care what side of the aisle you are. If you are in that political party, contact local clubs throughout your state and see if you can come and talk to them. You got to be educated on it, obviously. So, do as much information. Look, you don't have to be an expert. I mean, I have to tell you, I've been to so many of these things. I've been researching for 15 years. I'm still learning stuff. I learned stuff today. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you think 15 years of research, you know it all. No, just learned a lot today. So you don't have to be an expert on this. Just know some basics and start talking. Local radio programs, if you have talk shows in your town, look for radio shows because they are touching on issues. They want to call people in, and they want somebody on there who can speak about it. I do it all the time in New Hampshire. Do you have local TV shows, like cable shows? Like I don't know if you have it in the other states, but in New Hampshire we have cable shows. Glenn has a cable show. Deborah has a cable show. In Manchester, they both have cable shows. I've been on both of them. Rick and Angela in the back, we did a series. We called in Sandra and Jamie, and there's another educator in New Hampshire. We called them in and we did a series. They asked me to host it. I've never hosted a TV show before. I freaked out. You guys probably don't know that. Well, did I tell you that?
Did a great job, though.
Yeah, I did it because you know what? They asked me, and I thought, okay, I've been the interviewee, but I've never been the interviewer. I'm going to do a little. Maybe it's not something you can do, but if it is, great. And if it isn't, try it. I figure, you know what? If it didn't turn out good, they'd probably just throw it in the trash, and they certainly wouldn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. If it was bad, throw it out. Start a Facebook page or a Twitter account. We have stopcommoncorenh.org. We've got a Stop Common Core New Hampshire Facebook page. So if you don't have one locally, I mean, Heidi's got one for Maine, and I'm sure you guys have some in Massachusetts. So, maybe that's not even something you have to do. Maybe in your state it's already there. Just offer that help. Offer that extra help with those social media networks. If you have a personal Facebook page, start posting information on Common Core. That's a great, because remember, all your friends in your neighborhood are reading your Facebook posts and stuff, and so it's a great way to educate them. Without you speaking it, they're going to start becoming educated, and then you can start the conversation. Talk to your friends and neighbors, set up a website if you don't have one. Watch the legislation that's coming out, and if you live in New Hampshire, contact me. I watch legislation, I will testify on bills, and even when I go before these committees, it's nerve-wracking. It's a little, luckily you're not up there for 20 minutes, half hour speaking. You might be up there for 3 minutes. So if you're nervous, write it down. Write down exactly what you want to say. So that way, you get out everything you want to say. I can't tell you the power of a human being showing up and testifying in legislation. Joe would agree. He's one of our, he sits on a House Education Committee in New Hampshire, and he and I know each other really well because he sees me all the time. And sometimes when I walk into the room, somebody like him is very appreciative. Sometimes when I walk into that room, there's booze. Oh, here she comes. Oh, crap. Here she just walked in the door. I'm not well liked sometimes because, depending on what political party you're in or, when I'm addressing, they're not going to like what I have to say. I don't really care. You have an election in 2 weeks. Do you know who is running for office, and do you know where they stand on this issue? You should know that. If you don't know, you still have time. Go home and call them on the phone. Get their position. Tell them where you stand on this issue. And tell them that they're not getting your vote unless they stand against this issue. But keep that dialogue going. That's why they're local politicians. Joe's the state rep also, so he's also a local school board member. He wants to hear, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. They do want to hear from you. Especially at the school board level. You'd be amazed at how many school board members are really bothered by the fact that nobody goes to school board meetings. Do you know that I live in a town, it's called Bedford, New Hampshire. I've lived there over a decade. My kids have never been in the public school. They've gone to Catholic schools. And my school board members for the last decade have heard from me every week since I've lived there. Every single week I send them information. Are they happy about it? I don't know. I would probably guess some of them are not, but some of them are. But you know what? It's respectful. It's respectful. At least they look at the information that I send them. Because I'm paying them a heck of a lot of money, even though my kids don't go to that school. It's called property taxes. So there's some other things. Conference call. I did a conference call with Dr. Stotsky and Dr. Milgram. They didn't even have to step out of their house. Everybody could call in. They could be in their pajamas, and they can listen in on the conference call. And we did a conference call, so I would ask them questions. They would answer. You can actually Google it because it's up on the internet, and it's under Cornerstone conference call. If you Google that, you can listen to it. Write letters to the editor all the time. If you learn something about Common Core, write a letter to the editor. Information is really what you need to be focused on, just giving the public information on Common Core. They'll figure it out. You don't have to do a scathing letter all the time. It doesn't have to be scathing. It's just, hey, guess what I learned about this data collection stuff, blah, blah, blah. And give them facts and information. If you don't write letters, I have people who send me letters and say, would you check this over? I check it for accuracy to make sure that they're not saying anything that's inaccurate. You don't want to do that. Grammar's not my top thing, but I'm pretty good at it. So, sometimes I might say, have somebody else check it for that. But, I will check letters. If you live in New Hampshire, I don't care where you live, send it to me. I'll look it over. Again, run for school board, legislature, whatever. If you don't, I think somebody gave that advice. If you don't like what you're getting, step up to the plate. We're getting people to do that. I've got a lady in New Hampshire that works closely with me. Her name is Doris Hohensee, and she runs New Hampshire Families for Education. She is running for the state senate in New Hampshire.
A mom.
Yeah, a mom that just is fed up with this. She's homeschooled her kids, fed up with this, and she's running for the state senate. It's going to be tough. It's a tough one to run against. But she put her name out there. She's willing to do that. I'm just so impressed with her. Help the candidates that do oppose Common Core. Help them financially, get the word out, write letters to the editor for them. It's tight on letters to the editor right now. but see what you can do. Hold signs for them on that day of the election. One of the most important things you can do as a parent is refuse that test. Refuse it. The term is being thrown around here, opt out. You've got to refuse it, because the school, we're already finding in New Hampshire that the school administrator is saying, you can't opt out. Well, maybe you can't opt out, but I can refuse it. Okay, so refuse that test, because that's where really a lot of our power still stands, or still lies with us. This is not really about no, 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 no. You have to have an alternative. They're going to want to know, well, okay, how can you be against standards? How can you be against this? I mean, we want to raise the academic levels. So you need to come up with alternatives. You've heard that today. You heard that from Jamie. You heard that from Dr. Stutsky. What is the alternative? You've got the model right there. So they live so close to us. Oh my gosh, when I found out that Dr. Stutsky lived in Brookline, I've been talking to her for years on the internet. I'm like, you live in Brookline? Get to New Hampshire. I need you up here. And she has been wonderful. And same with Jamie coming up. And I've had them over the last couple of years coming up and doing these kind of presentations. So they've made themselves available. I'm available. I'll go talk to school boards, but I only go when I'm invited. I never go to a school board meeting where I'm not invited. Look at the curriculum that's in your school, and then you have to point to a better curriculum. Don't know what a better curriculum looks like? Go to a homeschool website. My God, how the homeschoolers can figure out good curriculum, but you have curriculum coordinators in your public school making 6 figures and can't figure out a good curriculum is stunning sometimes. It shocks me sometimes as a mom. I'm thinking, how can the homeschoolers figure this out? That, you know, a traditional math textbook actually teaches them math, and a Common Core fussy textbook doesn't do anything but confuse the kids. So if you don't know a good alternative, find a homeschooler, and they're going to show you. You can put textbook to textbook, and you can look at that. So we have some alternatives available. Thank your school board members, teachers, administrators, and legislators that work for better quality standards and literacy, like the Joe Dietrich over here. Thank them, because quite frankly, you can criticize a lot, but you also need to thank the ones that are willing to listen and willing to actually do something and take a stand. Parents, you have so much more control than you realize. I mean, as an activist, you know, if I can get 30 parents to show up to a school board meeting, you can get action. You can get action with 30, believe it or not, only 30. You know, what's amazing to me is like, okay, if they would take a public school and they would say, okay, we're going to bring in a dress code, you can fill a gym. You can fill a gym with parents saying, I do not want my kid to wear that skirt that goes down here. My daughter wants it up to here. Okay, you will fill a gym with parents, but you give them crappy math. And for some strange reason, I can't seem to get people to get up off the couch. Why is that? Why is that? I've been asking myself that. Why can't I get parents out there? Because my kids aren't even in the public schools. I have 2 in college now. I have 1 in high school, about ready to finish up. I could have just done this for my kids. I kept them out of the, out of the public schools. I chose this path. But I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I'm paying for this, first of all. Why should I pay for this? So talk to legislators. We live in New Hampshire. We are a presidential state. I mean, we get people up there all the time. Who's going to run for president? So the next 2 years, you guys are close enough. If you're in Maine and in New Hampshire, jump over to our state. Go to where they're going to be and ask them every time they come. I don't care if they're against Common Core, bring it up. Bring it up. Bring it up, because we need to make this issue important. Okay? I talk to presidential candidates all the time. In the last election and this election, the ones whose names are popping up. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story about Governor Bobby Jindal from Louisiana. Implemented Common Core, everything's going, getting backlash from all the parents down in Louisiana. I'm nationally connected, so I'm talking to parents in Louisiana. They're telling me, this is horrible. We've been trying to talk to them. He started coming to New Hampshire. So he came up to New Hampshire for a big GOP dinner. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to get to him at that GOP dinner, because there's gonna be a couple hundred people, although let me tell you something, 200 people does not stop me. I will work through a crowd like you would not believe. But I thought, okay, I don't really wanna work through 200 people, but I can work through maybe 25, so I'm gonna go to the VIP dinner. So I went to the VIP part, and the executive director and myself cornered him. Cornered him. And you only have a few minutes, but I told him, you better do something in your state to flip this around, because I'm telling you right now, if you're going to run for president in New Hampshire, then I'm talking to a governor like this. If you're going to run for president in 2016, and you come to New Hampshire, I have gone crisscross the state. These people are knowledgeable. They're not going to want anything to do with you if you are not against Common Core. You have an opportunity in your state to go do something. 2 weeks later, he came out against Common Core. Now, I wish I could take the credit for that, and I know that it has a lot, but I'm telling you, it was parents in that state who really had been badgering and going to him and doing that groundwork. So when he came to New Hampshire and realized, oh my God, I'm going to have to face this woman when I come up here. and I'm not kidding. I told him, I will be at your stops. It will not be pretty. It will not, because I will be that person that raising her hand every single time. And they know it. They know it in New Hampshire that I am the person that will do that, along with a few other people that will follow me around. And you heard about Governor Pence, right, today? He was in New Hampshire yesterday. He had 2 private events. Literally, I'm not kidding you. Yesterday morning, I am on the phone. How can I get in? How can I get into these private events? I got in. I got in yesterday morning, and I had written out my little letter to him. And when he walked up after giving his speech at a private event, and thought that he was going to meet a nice little friendly mom, I handed him my letter, and I told him, I am Marie Banfield. I'm from Cornerstone Action, and let me tell you something. Your rebranding of Common Core is not going to fly in New Hampshire if you decide to run for president, because I will be out here telling everybody what happened in Indiana, and they will be well educated, and it is not going to fly. And he's sitting there looking at me, okay, with his eyes like, oh, dear Lord. Those are the kinds of things. Now, maybe that's not something that you have access to, that maybe that's not something you can do, but you have to find ways. You have to find out what you can do, what you're called to do. There's got to be ways that we can all work together. Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. Angela came up to the State House. I didn't really know her. She gets in front of that House Education Committee, and they were challenging her, and she was firing right back, and I'm like, okay, I need her. And she's, did I do okay? I'm like, are you kidding me? You have no idea how great she did when she came up there. Everybody's got their gifts that they can, offer, and I'm telling you, it helps. And don't underestimate. You just want to give up. In Indiana, did they give up when he rebranded Common Core? Nope, they're coming back. This is a political battle. No child left behind didn't go away in a year or two. I'm telling you, we lost a bill last year. We had a bill to terminate Common Core in New Hampshire. We lost it, and I filled up that room. Not with a ton of people, but pretty good amount of people. I kind of figured we'd lose it, with the political makeup, but we still had to try. And then after we lost, I said, okay, hopefully this angers you, and we can come back, and we have to do it. You just can't give up and go away. You just have to keep fighting. My kids are not going to be affected by this. They're not going to be affected by this. But I'm paying a heck of a lot of money to that school that is now charging me to buy these books. And would you call, you pay $5,000, $10,000 a year property taxes, whatever you pay. Would you call someone into your home to do work on your home every single year and pay that amount every single year, and the roof still leaks, and you're not getting fixed what you want fixed? No, of course not. So why are you letting the schools off the hook? You can put the pressure on them at the school level. The chairman of the board of New Hampshire said, if you want to develop higher standards, you can. If you want to use higher standards, you can. So why aren't we? Why aren't we doing it? Because, a lot of the parents are going to the school board meetings demanding it. That's why. If more parents would show up to the school board meetings and demand it. They go to school board meetings, they get turned down, they go home. I give up. You can't give up. You cannot give up. You keep fighting. In Hollis, New Hampshire, they had fuzzy math several years ago. They didn't like it. It took them 2 years. They had committed parents, about 30 parents committed, just to get rid of the math curriculum. But they did it. They finally succeeded. It does take effort. And I've got a lot of people, well, I'll just pull my kids out. But you're still paying for that. We're still going to suffer as a nation. Illiteracy is not something good we're all going to benefit from. How does that benefit me? Even if my kids are safe from this. In these teacher evaluations, I'm so concerned about that issue. We've had some teachers speak, and I'm not a teacher. I have tutored math. But my daughter, I remember my daughter who was in 2nd grade, and she was having difficulty learning to read. And I'm not a teacher, so reading's not my subject. So I'm going, what the heck is wrong with this kid? She can't, and she seemed like a normal child, and just couldn't get her. I was thinking, if these teachers would have been evaluated on her, she couldn't track. I finally found a reading specialist who told me it was her eyes. It was something in her eyes. She wasn't tracking the words properly. All of that explains why she's skipping over words. I mean, who skips over words? My kid did. Okay, I kept her head above water. We took her to private tutors, kept her head above water. This kid would have been tracked, God knows where. She got to high school, by 6th grade everything started to come together. I'm assuming that it's something in her brain just clicked or something developmentally, something worked. And so when she got to high school, she was on the honor roll. She is now in her 3rd year of college at Solvay Nursing School. No easy test. 25% of those kids dropped out the 1st year. Dropped out of that program because it is incredibly tough. So hard. I can't imagine, first of all, a teacher being evaluated on her, something that they had nothing to do with. And just a kid who just needed, she had to have exercises, eye exercises. This didn't have to do with phonics or anything like that, it was eye exercises that, luckily, we picked up. I think that's basically what I wanted to go through. If you are not on my email list and you live in New Hampshire, you should be. I have teachers on it. I have school board members on it. I have teachers on it that say, oh my gosh, I didn't know about this stuff. Well, I get it from Ted Lepsick, I get it from Sandra Stutsky, I get it from James Mulgrew, and I get it from people who they're not getting it, they don't have this information. So if and even if you're not in New Hampshire, I shouldn't say that. If you're not in New Hampshire, I put you on it because there's people outside the state on it. You definitely, would you agree, Joe? You should be on the email.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I share this information and then it'll help you. One of the groups that is supporting Common Core is the National Chamber of Commerce, who got a lot of funding from Bill Gates. Maybe you're a business owner, maybe you belong to the chamber. Time to start putting some pressure on them. It's time to start figuring out who's in that chamber. It's time to start talking to people that belong to the chamber. Go talk to the business owners. Why would you be part of a chamber that supports? You got to start the dialogue. You got to start telling them what's wrong with it. Because a lot of them are just going along, it sounds good. So those are just some of the ideas that I was hoping to give you to kind of motivate you to just stay involved. And again, if there's a defeat, I try to turn that defeat into action, and I try to just, we got to regroup, we just got to come back, I guess it's the fighter in me. Don't give up. Just don't give up. Just keep doing it. I think that Indiana, the ladies in Indiana, Peg, oh my gosh, how long have you been out there? I mean, she's been fighting it a long time. Go watch her videos. Oh, they were such a godsend to me years ago. But that's really all I had for you today. I certainly can, like I said, I'll add you to my email list. Just give your email, your name, and what school district you're in, if you're in New Hampshire,